How would it change your life if you could regularly and accurately tell when people are lying to you and deceiving you? It's a topic that has been given a lot of thought lately by Don Tennant. He's a writer who lives in Elliott. He's got a new book out. It's called Spy the Lie. Former CIA officers teach you how to detect deception. He's with us tonight here on 207. A little background. You're a professional writer mainly, and you worked on this book with 3 CIA veterans who are experts in this kind of shadowy field of telling when people aren't telling the truth, right?
That's exactly right. I began my career actually in the intelligence community. One of those CIA officers, Phil Houston, is an old friend of mine going back almost 40 years. When we got out of the Air Force, he went into the CIA, I went into the NSA. After many years, we got back in touch. And with me being the writer with the writing ability and him having this story to tell with his colleagues, we decided to make a book out of it.
His story is that he came up with a sharper, better, improved method of being able to tell, professional interrogators being able to tell when people are trying to lie to them, right?
That's right, and it's actually born of the polygraph experience. Phil was a polygraph examiner for many years within the CIA, and one day he was analyzing the charts in the polygraph experience, and he was he was noting, as they always do, when the question begins, when it ends, and when the respondent gives the yes or no answer. And he thought to himself, what if we analyzed all of our communication this way? In other words, if we provide a stimulus being a question, and we can analyze behavior in response to that question, maybe we've got something.
You'd think, we would all think that the CIA would be really good at this, and they can truly tell far better than the rest of us when people are trying to deceive them. Is that the case, though? Are they all that much better? Or do even they get conned?
Well, I mean, we will be the first to say we're not human lie detectors. So there's nothing is in this book or any other book will make someone a human lie detector. But what this does is provide a methodology that enables you to filter out so much extraneous information to avoid the guesswork in that experience. In other words, a lot of people, when they try to figure out if someone is lying, we hear a lot from body language experts who will use that method. And they'll look at how someone is sitting, a posture, his bearing. But we hear someone who's sitting there with his arms folded across his chest. He's withholding something, he's trying to hide something. But the fact is, what if I'm just comfortable sitting this way? Maybe I'm cold. Maybe I'm lying.
So you don't know. All right, so how do you use this now in your everyday life? If you're talking to someone and that person is, say, wants to sell you something, how do you analyze what they're saying to you and try to figure out whether they're maybe deceiving you?
What I do, we'll ask a question. The question is our stimulus. Suppose I come in here, you guys have some equipment that's missing. I say, Rob, we understand there's some equipment missing from the studio. Do you have any information on that? And you respond something like, you give us what we call a convincing statement, which is the most powerful lie we find. You say, Don, I've worked here for a long time, I'm highly respected. Why would I risk my job on some equipment? I just wouldn't do that. Well, you've spent your response time telling me something about yourself to convince me about your behavior, your personality, as opposed to respond to my question.
So that's a tip-off right off the bat, is if people do not give you a direct response to what you've inquired about, then that maybe sets off a little bit of an alarm?
That's right. So you don't have to, I don't have to guess. I'm not looking at your posture. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm focused exactly on the response, the timely response to my question, and I become a lot more comfortable with my assessment if I have a cluster of behaviors that I look at that could be verbal or nonverbal.
And you say this can be really practical in talking to your kids about whether they've done their homework, whether they've done drugs, all kinds of things, whether you're talking to employers, girlfriends, boyfriends, relatives.
Absolutely. That's why we wanted to write the book, is we do training for law enforcement and the intelligence community, attorneys, educators, HR, but we found out that this is applicable to everybody. So we wanted to have a vehicle to make it available to everyone
All right.
Hence the book.
The vehicle is Spy the Lie. Don Tennant from Elliott, thanks for coming in. If you'd like more information on this book or the author, we've got that on our website. Just go to WCSH6.com, the 207 page, and stay with us. We're going to be back in just a moment.